Izzy here, and I remember a time not long ago when my Sundays were dictated by scripture, my beliefs by dogma, and my spiritual world felt incredibly small. Every prayer was structured, every doubt suppressed. Then something shifted. For me, it was the quiet pull towards my ancestors. For Sarah, it was the undeniable call of intuition, guiding her away from the familiar and into the unknown. We both ended up in places we never expected, trading hands for hexes and sermons for spirit work.
Welcome to Just Another Statistic, hosted by Sarah and Izzy. This is where we lay bare our deconstruction from Christianity and our vibrant, sometimes challenging transition into witchcraft and personal spirituality. We're here to share the blueprint of our spiritual rebuilding, one honest conversation at a time. Whether you're someone who diligently attended church for decades, or you're always felt a magnetic pull towards something other, this podcast is for you. We'll explore the hows and whys of our journey, discussing everything from finding new community to understanding ancient practices and navigating family dynamics. Our goal is to connect through our stories, acknowledge that while our paths are unique, the quest for authentic spirituality is a universal human experience. Join us as we explore the rich tapestry of spirituality beyond the statistics.
Okay. Before we begin, we want to share a brief but important note. To protect the privacy and identities of everyone involved, we will not be using the real names of people or churches in our stories. We also want to acknowledge that every story has at least two sides, and what you're about to hear is simply our story, sharing our experiences from our unique perspective. We've dedicated a lot of time to healing from these experiences and will continue this journey. And we sincerely wish nothing but love and light for all the individuals whose paths have intersected with ours. Right. So,
here we go again.
We recorded this episode once, and the file got completely corrupted, and didn't have the original video anymore, so we're redoing this one. So if we sound a little robotic, we apologize. It's been like a week and a half.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's been enough time where it doesn't sound like we're just
regurgitating what we already said.
The script, but we'll try our best. So today we're talking about purity culture and purity rings, and specifically Ryan and Sarah's experiences in purity culture and with purity rings. So yeah, Sarah, do you want to explain what purity culture is?
Oh, I should have brought up the definition of purity culture. But purity culture is basically mostly targeted towards girls, but youth, that your body is sacred and it is important that you save yourself for your significant other, your husband or wife, and not to be sexually active until you are married.
Yeah.
And until that point, you were married to Jesus.
Yeah. And there's like ranges of that, I would say, from, some people just waiting until they're married to people going as far as not even like kissing until their wedding day to, much more extreme versions. I would say with as extreme as our experience feels, we were definitely not on the extreme end of purity culture, because it can get crazier.
Yeah.
Which is insane. And they're gonna have to probably start doing studies on the negative impact of it on people's minds, because I think it's not affecting people in a good way.
No, a whole couple generations could probably tell you the negative impact of
I
purity
think a lot
culture.
of, I think going back very, very far.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay, and then we're going to talk about purity rings. So purity rings became popular in like the 90s. I really don't know more about them. Maybe we'll do like a
Deep dive
of where these symbols came from. Me and Sarah both have our adult purchased purity rings. We don't have the ones we got as children, but we do have the ones that we bought ourselves later in life. But they're kind of just like a symbol of like, I'm waiting for marriage. They'll let everybody know that I'm claimed, pretty much.
Mhm.
Yeah. In a weird way.
It's your wedding ring to Jesus.
Yeah. Did you ever get asked if you were married?
Yes. Actually, a couple of times now that I like think about it.
Yeah.
There was one particular time. It was I worked at Dunes, and I was on register, and you usually wear your purity ring on your wedding finger. So I had my purity ring on my wedding finger. Wow, saying that is it is tripping me up today, guys. Wedding ring. And a lady was like, "Oh, are you married?" And I was like, "Oh no, it's my purity ring." And she got emotional.
Yeah.
Woman I didn't even know. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you." I roll. Yeah, and I was like, "Thanks." It kind of creeped me out, but I was like, "Uh-huh."
Yeah. I kind of had a crazy experience. I did opera in high school, and I used to do these operetta plays. There was like this summer camp that this really old couple ran for these kids and they were like mostly Catholic kids that did it. So I was surprised when he said something to me, but he like asked me, he was like, "What is that ring on your finger?" And I was like, "Oh, it's my purity ring." And he was like, "Is it supposed to be on that finger?" And he was like really aggressive with me. And I was like, "It is." And he was like, "Oh, well, it's too late for me." And walked away. And I was like, that was the weirdest interaction I've ever had.
It's too late for me. In what context, sir?
Well, he was like, they had to be like in their 70s or 80s directing like 40 kids to do opera. So they were like this really old hippie couple. Super sweet. Sometimes. They were definitely like old theater people. So
got it.
They would get in your face and yell at you. You were doing what they thought you should. But anyway, that was like the most dramatic. And then I had like a lot of guys who were like, "You're really pretty. I'm gonna ask you out, but you're married." And I was like, "I'm not married. I'm 17." You know, a lot of weird conversations for sure.
I'm like thinking back on it now. I'm pretty sure that wearing a purity ring just literally put a target on our back.
For sure.
In so many contexts. And that's just like,
Yeah. I think it's like similar to how like when girls talk about how like when they were teenagers they got hit on a lot, and then as they became adults they stopped. It stopped, you know? And I feel like purity rings kind of just put a beacon out to say, I don't know anything about sex. And I think of a lot of people, I don't want to just say men because there are women who are like this too, but the majority men, you know, would like be like, "I want to teach you something." And it's
yeah.
And now, like, as an adult who's had sex, I'm like, you're bad at sex, and you hope that nobody knows. And then finding one of the but people who haven't had sex because you're bad at it.
You're bad at it.
That's the only reason.
And you're just getting off of
Yes.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the only way it works for you. But it's creepy. So tell us, Sarah, how'd you get your first purity ring?
My first purity ring was presented to me by my father, who I do not speak to anymore. Boo him. But it was a father-daughter dance.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly, I'm trying to think. I was like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure I had 3 purity rings at one time, at
Yeah.
some point. But it was a father-daughter dance. I was elementary school, middle school.
Mhm.
So I was young.
Mhm.
I was pretty young. So I was like 11, 12, something like that.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was super excited. I got all dressed up. I got my hair done.
Yeah.
And it was just like I was a huge daddy's girl.
Mhm.
And so it was like super important to me. And he presented this ring to me. You know, it was like everybody at this father-daughter dance all the girls got a ring from their father figure. And it was just, this is now your promise that you're going to honor God and not have sex before marriage.
Mhm.
And at the time, it was super important to me. It was like super special.
Mhm.
And I thought, this was great. This was
Yeah.
so cool. And I'm going to be such a good Christian girl. I'm going to find a love someone's going to love me. Like at the time, it was the thought process of like, I'm going to find somebody that loves me as much as my father loves me.
Mhm.
And as much as Jesus loves me.
Mhm.
And so like, that was my first time having a purity ring.
Mhm.
I'm thinking now the second time was actually was a little later on. I think it was after Larry divorced. My father divorced his second wife. My first wife was my mom. His second wife, and we were at a birthday party,
Mhm.
and I was presented with another purity ring at that. It was like her 13th birthday or something like that. And so, but he had gotten me one too. And I was like, okay, we're doing it again? Why? Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I guess he just wanted me to fill a part
Yeah.
because I wasn't really friends with any of those girls or anything.
Mhm.
But it was like, here you go. So.
Yeah, I was really young too. I was 11. I think the reason my parents gave me the ring so young is because my sister had gotten hers maybe like a year or two prior. My sister is 5 years older than me, so we have a bit of an age gap, but we're also right next to each other and shared a room and everything. So anything she was exposed to or experiencing, I was. So stuff kind of got fast forwarded for me. And I don't remember if my parents invited all of my siblings to go to dinner with us, or if it was just me who wanted to go to dinner and everybody else wanted to stay home. But I ended up being the only one that went out to dinner with them that night. And it was like in one of like the little mesh baggies. And my dad just tossed it across the table at me and was like, "You're married to Jesus now." And my mom asked me if I knew what it meant. And I told her yes. But I didn't, and not that they were willing to explain exactly what it meant, but I definitely, looking back on it, that's the thing that makes me the maddest, is that I had no idea what I was promising at all. And I I think that's also why it would be interesting for us to look at the history of maybe how old they were giving girls, because I feel like it's getting younger.
Yes.
Because when kids are getting exposed to things much earlier,
Mm-hmm.
that purity is disappearing much earlier, so they have to go younger,
Mm-hmm.
which brings up whole other issues, which you can find out about on our Beyond Statistics episode on our Patreon, where we talk about much darker themes of purity culture. But yeah, that was the thing that made me the most angry, is I didn't know what I was promising. And I really didn't understand until I was like 20. And then I had like experienced sexual attraction for the first time. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what this feels like. This is what I have to deal with. This is what I have to say no to. And it's not really something you can explain to a person. So, like, I guess I understand in a way, but I also feel like there should be some sort of, at least waiting until your kid is at an age to be sexually active to have that conversation with them.
Yeah. I think it's a delicate balance, because, like, if you're not explaining what sex is to your children, you shouldn't be giving them a purity ring.
Yeah, I never got explained.
So I was lucky in that. Like, my mom exposed me to like the softer sides of like how babies were made. When, as a young child, like there's a book, The Wonderful Ways Babies Were Made.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a very in my opinion, is a very well written piece, because I remember it and I went back and read it years ago. And it's very age appropriate, but it's kind of explains, when a mom and a dad love each other, they come together, and they was like, and the man's sperm meets with the mom's egg, and it creates a baby, and then it goes through the cycle of
and explain the science of it.
Yeah. And then like later when you're older, it has like really small fine print, which goes into deeper detail. And so, my mom would read the book to me. So I didn't see the fine print until I was much older. So, but I was exposed to the concept of sex pretty young, but it wasn't in a like grotesque or malicious way. So I think it was framed well. So I understood. And I think that also gave me, my mom wanted to make sure I had bodily autonomy, and like if somebody touched me or did anything inappropriate, I could actually explain these things, So
yeah. I think I always knew what sex was because of things that had happened when I was very young, and then again when I was a teenager. That I really, your child brain blocks things to protect you, and they kind of don't come up till later. And so I remember I was like talking to a coworker, and who I was homeschooled all the way through 12th grade. So I wasn't getting exposed to anything that my parents weren't, allowing me, and like any science books that we had for school, like anything that talked about anatomy or any bodily functions, man or woman, like those pages got stapled together. Or my dad would draw over the naked bodies, and they would like white out all of the information. It was some major censorship. To the point where like my older brother went into the military, and he got treated really poorly because of how innocent they were. And they kind of went into the world, and it slapped them in the face really hard. And I really wasn't like that until like I was 17, and the girl, she was like, oh, when I was little, I thought girls got pregnant through the belly button. And I like stood there, and it was just like the wall crumbled and all the memories came flooding back. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have always known, and this is why I've always known. I was going somewhere with this, and now it's gone. Nope, not there.
It's okay. You were very sheltered.
Yes,
to say the least.
Very sheltered. For sure. But then bad things also happened. I feel like it put more of a target on me because I was so quiet, because purity culture preaches that it's the woman's fault, that it's the victim's fault that they did something to elicit that it put the target on me of like, it's like they knew I wasn't going to say anything. It's like they could see that. And I don't know how, but I mean, there's been studies done. They say that they can tell. They say that they can pick out those kids really easily. So obviously, like, there's something behind it. But even with as sheltered, it didn't stop what they were trying to prevent from happening. So.
Yeah. I was like, unfortunately, I think that's one of the reasons purity culture is so dangerous. Is because it literally does, like we said, put a target on our backs. And it, for the most part, it's girls' backs. Like, thinking back on it, I don't believe my brother, I have an older brother as well, and I don't think he ever had a purity ring. To my knowledge, he never had a purity ring or anything like that. I know we like had purity conferences at church, and they would separate the boys and the girls, and they were like, this is your purity pledge card. And like everybody signed those. But the next step was the girls had purity rings. Or you got to show off your purity ring. Like, I have a purity ring. And there's a double standard there for sure.
I remember I had a conversation with my dad. It was like Father's Day, and I took him out to dinner, and it was just us. And I was like 21, 22, and I like talked to him about it. And I was like, what were you thinking when you gave it to me when I was that young? Like, what were you thinking? And pretty much the answer I got was, I just did what everybody else did. And he goes, and he was like, and I don't see a problem with what I did. And I was like, well, I didn't know what I was promising. You were forcing me to make a promise that I didn't understand. And he was like, oh, I don't see a problem with it. And of course you don't see a problem with it. But yeah, that's what I had gotten told. And I had stopped wearing like the one he had given me at that point, because I was kind of angry when I realized like, oh, this is what I was being asked to do. And then later, we went through that devotional with Sugar Cube later as adults. And I think that was when me and you bought our last purity rings.
Yeah. So that was for me, because I lost my first purity ring. I must have been, I was in middle school. And it was like art class or something. So I had to take my rings off because we were doing clay or something. And it was in my pocket. And when I went back for my ring after class, it was in my pocket.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh no. And so I lost that period earring. The second one, I have no idea where that one went. I don't even remember what that one looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So that one was gone. That must have gotten lost at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was just super cheap and it broke or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but for me, like before we went through the book, like before that, I had moved to Denver for college.
Mm-hmm.
I went to art school. I went to photography school.
And the school has been sued. And Sarah has gotten most of her tuition back.
Yeah, that school doesn't exist anymore, guys. But I went to art school, and like when I first moved out to Denver, I was pretty solid, but I was isolated. I didn't have any family or friends really around there. And so I started falling in with, a very secular crowd, as they would put it.
Yeah.
And I was at an art school. So yes, there were some very flamboyant people around me and very secular people around me. And like eventually I was like, I'm around some of these cute guys, let's go.
Yeah.
And so I started having sex. It was only a couple of guys. It was like three. It was three guys in total. But like the first time I had sex, it was a very strange experience, honestly. It was very strange, but the guilt of it afterwards was immense. Growing up in purity culture, it was I'm worthless now. I failed. I don't deserve to find a loving husband. I've disappointed my future husband.
Yeah. Like
all that.
He's gonna have to be a really special person to put up with the fact that you gave it away.
Yeah. Before I knew of his existence. And so like I was pretty down on myself at that point, and I'm pretty sure I was falling into some depression and just some psychological stuff.
Yeah.
And I had come home for a visit, and in our church group there was Red and the Paladin. And those two, like I was only home for like a week, and they were like, we're dropping everything. You're here. You're so awesome. We love you. You're special, and they didn't know what I was going through mentally at that point, or if even like just choices and stuff. And they made me feel so special and so loved. And it was like, oh, I am still worth something. Like people still see value in me and like care about me. And these were guys, not related to them in any way, except knowing them for years from the church. But because they literally like dropped everything that week so that we could hang out, let's go to IHOP. Let's go, let's hang out real late. Let's whatever it was. That made me feel so, it kind of reaffirmed my wants of being quote unquote pure. But I think it also reframed the fact that like, yeah, I made a decision to have sex outside of marriage, but that doesn't mean I'm worthless.
Yeah.
And so I think that made me fall kind of back into Christian culture.
Yeah.
If you will. Yeah. So, and then eventually I moved back here, and that's when we met. So.
Yeah. My parents tried to marry me off twice. I was 18 the first time, and that was when you were in Denver. And then 21 the second time. the first time he decided that he wanted somebody else. The second time it was really me. I had finally had that experience of like, oh, this is what sexual attraction is. I knew what it felt like to actually like somebody that way. And there was just, it wasn't there for him. And I was like so afraid of getting married and having to force it and all that. Because when I was 18, I was very much in the mentality of like marry him and learn how to love him. Which we get told a lot more than is normal in the church. And I think it's just they have such a fear of us like sinning and having sex. They're like, it's okay if you feel that you're gonna sin, just get married and then figure the rest out afterwards.
Right.
Which is horrible fucking advice.
Beyond.
But I had like really after that second time, I was like, I don't think that I want to wait till marriage. I think it's more important to be married to the right person and stay married to them, because I see marriage as a much stronger covenant because of the covenant you make before God, not your dad tossing a ring at you across the table when you're 11 years old. And so I had told my parents, I was like, I would rather have sex and find out they're the wrong person than get married to have sex and find out they're the wrong person. But I was like scared because I was living by myself. So when we moved in together and we sat down and we're like going over the rules of like how we were gonna live together, and I told you, I was like, I don't want to wait. And you were like, okay. You were like, I don't think I care anymore either. And I was like, cool. I think that was the best way for me to have had sex for the first time.
There's a lot of terminology that we have to unlearn from this.
Virginity is such a made up thing, and I don't like acknowledging it anymore. But because I was 22, which I think is a fantastic age. I think anywhere from 20 to like 25 is a good age. And then like I was in a safe place because we were living together. Like I knew that somebody at least always kind of knew where I was, you know? And then like I wasn't gonna come home to like shame or something like that. And so even though that douchebag slept with me and then dipped, I don't regret it at all. I think if I had been in any other time, place, and like, or by myself, it wouldn't have been the experience that it was. It was just really funny because it happened in that Sunday they talked about waiting till marriage, and I was like, is God telling me something? And I remember sitting there in church and being like, okay, God, if this is you telling me what I did was wrong, make me feel guilty. And I didn't. And I was like, okay, whatever.
I remember that because we went back home.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it. Yeah. And
I was like, I don't feel nothing.
I was like, honestly, at that point, because we had been friends for so many like years at that point, and you were like, I think it's weird that people put so much value on my quote unquote purity, and I don't. And I was like, you're right. And like at that point, I had already had sex, and so I was like, dude, I think it was personal choice at that point. I did set some ground rules. I was like, I don't want to see nothing. I don't want to hear nothing. If at all possible. But I'm going to be in my room on the other side. So just be safe. And if you never, and remember that no means no. So if you change your mind, no means no. And if he doesn't respect that, you come get me.
Yeah.
And I remember that Sunday we came back home. We were I was like, so how you feel? How's it going? You good? Because like my whole thing was, I didn't want.
Oh,
I was like, what happened? I was like, I didn't want people to feel the guilt that I did.
yeah.
And because I was alone, I think I fell into that guilt super hard. You know, I didn't have a community around me that was like, make your own decision, make your own choice.
Yeah.
And this is a safe space for you.
Yeah. Well, and I think because of the things that had happened to me when I was young, and then like spending years in the church of feeling guilty, like I had done something to deserve that what had happened to me, and then I was worthless. And then, you know, I went to therapy and stuff and was like, oh, this wasn't my fault. And they all made me feel like it was my fault and that my value is now gone because of it. I was really like, who gives a fuck anymore?
We don't.
Because, yeah, high school was a really dark time and place for me. Because it was just a lot of shame that I couldn't talk about and I couldn't defend what had happened to me, and I, you know,
which you shouldn't have been have defend anyway.
So by the time that I got there at 22, I was just so like, I don't give a fuck. Because these people were nasty to me anyway. Like it didn't matter what I did or didn't do.
Yeah,
they already treated me like I was worthless. So who cared at that point?
You had rumors going around,
and then all of that stuff too. Yeah.
And I was like, I was not a part of that community, so I did not hear about it, but I saw people that were a part of the homeschool community and were like, oh yeah, I do remember hearing about that stuff. And it's just the one person I remember hearing them knowing you kind of through the homeschool community was at Sugar Cube's wedding. And she was like, yeah, I kind of remember hearing about that, but I was never in that group really. So she was like on the outside as well. And I was like, that's crazy. That like you were how old? You were middle school age, and you're getting these rumors elementary school that you know, because you look feminine.
Yeah. Or just very different from other girls.
Yeah.
So
alternative would be the best, like, you know.
I'm very opinionated.
Yes. She is very opinionated, which is not a bad thing. She had her voice and she knew how to use it. All right, jumping back in. Yes, you're a very, very, very opinionated person, and it was crazy that you had rumors going around about you that, you know, you were doing things at a super young age, even though you had never even touched a boy or even looked at a boy that in that kind of way.
Not until I was 20.
So,
yeah. Unfortunately, I feel like that's just how the church is, though, is it's all gossip. It's all behind the back. It's all making things up to make yourself sound better. Because I think really when it comes down to it, most Christians don't want to deal with themselves. So that it's just easier to point the finger. And again, I was just an easy target. You know, my parents were not Christians growing up. They converted later in life and then raised us all in it. So I felt like they had a lot of people-pleasing tendencies because they were coming from the outside into this community. And yeah, I don't just how alienated me and my siblings were from everybody else. It really is wild looking back on it. My childhood was awful.
To be honest,
it was really horrible. It was a very, very dark time in my life, and for multiple reasons. But yeah, I didn't have any friends in the church, and I think if I had at least two people or even one person like you did with Red and the Paladin, where it was like there was some kind of support system. You know, maybe I would still be in the church today. But church was not ever a safe place for me. It was let's rip out your trauma and makes you feel like crap for it. And even though we don't know what happened to you, we're gonna make our own assumptions and then blame you, a child, for them. And I don't really blame the kids now looking back on it. I think the kids are just byproducts of the adults around them. So anything that happened before we were 18, I'm kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of those people still have that opinion of me into adulthood. And I don't see a lot of them doing a lot better. So it's, I don't know. It's just dumb.
Yeah. It's dumb. So, like you said, we eventually were going through a book. Which book was it? I don't remember the name of the book.
I don't remember the name. It was by Levi.
Lesko. Levi Lesko.
Yes.
I don't remember what it was. Yeah, but we all went through the book with
His dating book. I'm sure you could look it up.
Probably find it. And then after that, we separately eventually bought our adult rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sugar Cube didn't buy one with us because she was engaged and Little Miss Perfect and didn't need to. Not that, you know, she just had a very different experience than us, and I don't think she could ever relate. Not that at one point she wasn't trying. I do feel like she did try for a long time.
We had very different stories.
Yeah. Yeah, she was one of the lucky ones that got engaged right out of high school and picked, and you know, we didn't. So
yeah,
it was a different story for us. So
yeah,
it is what it is. But I don't remember Levi's book. I don't remember there being like anything I was like, I disagree with this 100%.
Yeah, no, there was.
I don't remember. It's a fine book. Like if abstinence or waiting till marriage is something you choose to do, like definitely read it.
Yeah.
I just don't think anybody should be forced into that decision. And Christianity forces children into that decision.
Yeah, forces them into a lot of decisions.
Yeah.
And call it what it is, brainwashes them into believing it's this way or you're going to hell.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Let's get into some questions. Okay. Let's get into some questions.
Let me see. What didn't we already answer though? How do you think this affected your relationship to dating?
Oh, I had a pretty bad relationship with dating for sure. I didn't have my first boyfriend until my senior year of high school. And even then it was very much, we had a stopping point, you know?
Yeah.
We were allowed to kiss. We were allowed to hold hands. But this boy was from the church, like I met him at church. And like anytime we start getting a little heavy, like I would always feel like, yeah, there was like a little bit of excitement and exhilaration, but I was always like, stop. You know, we have to stop because we have to be good. And I was very much like, I want to wait till marriage. And he said the same thing, but I feel like he was pushing it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think I think it kind of messed up my thought process of how relationships should go, you know? And I think it was holding purity above the relationship, if that makes sense. It was the most important thing. And then when I did decide to have sex and I didn't have that anymore, I think it opened me up to be able to be like, I want to be able to experience an actual relationship with somebody that loves me. That didn't happen until recently.
Right.
I'm going to be very honest. Yeah.
I don't think
Right.
you loved yourself until recently.
Yeah.
Either.
I think there was some self-loathing for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm worthless.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to settle for this douchebag. Whatever
kind of affection gets thrown my way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think I was scared to even try to date before. When I was 20 and I first had my, oh my gosh, this is what sexual attraction feels like. I was on a date with a guy that I had met through theater. So he wasn't Christian at all. He's an atheist. He didn't know how young I was. He's 8 years older than me. Did not know how young I was. I was 20. I wasn't like a teenager or anything like that. But we're still friends to this day. And he like gets mad when I talk about that night because there was just so much he didn't know. And he feels that he pressured me. And I was like, you didn't. And all we did was make out. Like, it wasn't. And he was like, yeah, but that was like all of your firsts. And I didn't know that. And it was like so overwhelming. Like, I think my body hurt physically for weeks after because I had always been told, like, this is wrong. What I'm doing is wrong. So, like, I was so clenched up. Even though we were just making out, like, that's all we did. I remember like my hands were fisted, like my legs were like, just everything was clenched. And I was sore for like a week afterwards.
Like you ran a freaking marathon.
Because I just couldn't relax. And then like I kind of had a boyfriend and like we would kiss from time to time, but it wasn't like crazy. And then I just never dated anybody very long. Like I would go on a couple of dates and then the second things shifted towards being physical, I would just stop it, the whole thing. Because I don't know how to take that next step, and then Christian guys really weren't dating me. I wasn't because I had short hair, like all my hair was chopped off and I was living alone by the time I was 19. I was working for surgeon, so I was making a lot of money at the time. I was making a lot more money than any of the guys my age or close to my age because everybody was in college and they were all broke. So I think they were intimidated. Not to like try to be arrogant or anything, but it was just like I skipped the whole college thing. And I think that's one of the reasons we're friends, because Sarah's 9 years older than me.
Yes, I am.
It's just because I skipped that whole like crazy college kid era and went straight into this is what it takes to support myself as an adult. So yeah, the Christian guys weren't interested. So I was dating guys that were claiming to be Christians, but really weren't practicing Christians. And yeah, anytime anything turned physical, I was like, I just shut it off. Yeah, I just shut it off. And then when we moved in, I was like, I'm gonna just start having sex. And it wasn't like I'm gonna sleep with everybody. No, I still like wanted to be in a relationship, but I knew to be in the relationship that I wanted, sex had to be on the table.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yes. I was scared. Dating scared me.
Yeah.
And I think that's something they don't talk about was like young couples getting married. I think so many women probably feel the same way that I feel that I felt that night on their wedding nights. And it's
Yes.
like, and then they are also forced to perform or made to think that they now have to do this for their husbands. And it's not a fun or a kind experience.
Which is so unfortunate because it should be.
Yes. Yeah, it should be fun. And it's all about the buildup. And Christianity really doesn't. It's, you go from 0 to 1,000 and
then you got to pump out babies.
Yeah, you got to figure it out and be okay with it and not talk about it. And
which I'm glad that we found each other because we were able to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think we discovered the joy that's there.
I wish that Sugar Cube came to us more about it too.
Yeah.
Because when she finally told us that like she cried her whole honeymoon, I felt horrible. And I was like, why didn't you come talk to us? Like we would have.
I'm like,
helped.
We've already experienced these things.
It's not something you need to like be like, I don't need to know all of your husband's kinks.
Yeah.
But we can help you feel more comfortable or talk you through it.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm like, and that's just you.
Yeah.
We don't need to, no. But for you, we want to make sure you're comfortable and enjoying it. So,
and I think that that's an experience for a lot of
Christian girls. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning in to Just Another Statistic. Each episode, we aim to explore the profound shifts that occur when we bravely step away from inherited beliefs and embrace new spiritual awakenings. This path from Christianity to witchcraft and spirituality is one of constant evolution, marked by unique turning points and deeply felt emotions. We believe that every deconstructed, every spiritual discovery is a powerful story waiting to be told. If you've been on a similar path or are just beginning to ask the difficult questions, we invite you to share your personal journeys with us. Whether it's a specific moment of realization, a challenge you overcome, or a newfound sense of peace, your story adds vital depth to this conversation. Send us an email at jastatistic@gmail.com or connect with us on social media at Just Another Statistic Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. We're curious about what you're struggling with, what you care about, and how our podcast has inspired you.
Your voice matters, and by sharing it, you help build a vibrant community for those who might feel like outsiders or just another statistic. Don't forget to follow our podcast to stay with us on this journey. And if this episode brought you value, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Bye, guys.